I believe Steve is going to.
Steve, okay. Good evening, everyone. No guests, we all fellow Toastmasters, and there's a message.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Welcome to another evening with Cascade Speakeasy. Our theme's Thanksgiving. I'm going to pass it on quickly to our Sergeant at Arms to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam President. If everyone would please stand and repeat along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ron. And now I'd like us to introduce our Toastmaster to make opening remarks and call for the joke of the day. And review all of the program changes for the night. And Ron, up again.
Thank you, Madam President. It's good to be here. Flew back yesterday from Florida. Glad I could be here with you this evening. We do have a few program changes. I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Tonight, our general evaluator will be Steve Schwinn. Our grammarian, thank you, Steve, for volunteering. Our grammarian will be Christina Stepper. We will only have one speaker this evening. That will be the illustrious Lloyd Smith. Our Toastmaster, our table topics master will be Pat Whitfield, who is also evaluating Lloyd's speech. Those are the only program changes I have. We don't have any guests this evening. However, we do have a couple of jokes. I'm going to ask Kathleen to give us the joke of the day.
I haven't memorized my joke yet. Practicing it for tomorrow. A young boy attended his first wedding. After the service, his cousin asked, "How many women can a man marry?" 16, the boy responded. Amazed by the quick response, the cousin asked, "How do you know that?" "Easy," the young boy said. "All you have to do is add it up, like the pastor said. 4 better, 4 worse, 4 richer, 4 poorer."
Okay, that's good. That was better than
Thank
mine.
you, Kathleen. I would now like to introduce our general evaluator this evening, Mr. Steve Schwinn. Thank you, Steve.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I don't know. Okay, stick to the point. Each of our Toastmasters meetings has a general evaluator to oversee the activities of the meeting and identify any good or bad points throughout the evening and report at the end of the meeting. And that is me tonight. In addition to me, I have a number of individuals to assist in that project. And tonight, our first evaluator is Pat Whitfield, who will be evaluating Lloyd Smith's speech.
This is going to be very interesting because Lloyd has actually given this speech 5 times before, but in a different context. His speech will be Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring, which is required on an innovative planning path. His topic is Sometimes the Magic Works. The purpose of the project is for the member to clearly define how Toastmasters envision mentoring. And the purpose of this speech is for the member to share some aspect of a previous experience as a protege. And that's where the twist comes in, because instead of talking about his role as a protege, he's going to talk about a time he was a mentor. I won't spoil the mystery. So that's what we're going to hear from Lloyd. This time, 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Following Pat, we have our timer, Captain McNulty. Can you come up and tell us how it all plays?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm delighted to be the timer tonight. Why do we have a timer? Because some of us like to listen to ourselves. We go on and on and on, much to the disappointment of our audience. We will have a timer tonight. I have a tool here even. Ooh, I even have to use my iPhone. We have several speeches. I will be keeping an eye on Lloyd's speech, which is 5 to 7 minutes. And when he gets to 5 minutes, I'm going to hold up the green card. When he gets to 6, the yellow card. When he gets to 7, the red card. Pat will be doing his evaluation, which is 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, the yellow card. 2.5, oh, excuse me, at 2 minutes, the green card. 2.5, the yellow. At 3, the red card. All of us will have the great pleasure of doing table topics. 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, green. 1.5, yellow. 2 minutes, red. I'm on it. Thank you, sir.
Awesome, thank you. Our grammarian tonight is Christina, who will explain her role.
Thank you. Tonight, I will be listening for exceptional grammar, as well as egregious grammar. Great use of terms and phrases. It'll be fun to share at the end. I also get to do a word of the day. Since our theme is Thanksgiving, our word of the day is soporific.
Oh.
Causing sleep.
Oh, that's a different
After a large Thanksgiving meal, I feel soporific. Causing sleep. Use it a lot. It's soporific.
Apparently you must be married to Eric Stepper. Taking a little bit of his lead, I see. I'm sure that you don't suffer from soporificity at your house. Living with Eric. Finally, our counter will explain her role. Barbara, can you tell us?
The purpose of an counter is to note words and sounds that are used as a crutch. A pause filter by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, my all-time favorite, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I imagine that everybody is going to come out clean, and I might get a little soporific. Does that work?
That is the slate of individuals who will be on the job, certainly not suffering some soporificity. How's that for a little?
I've never used that word.
As they fill their roles. Now I'll return this meeting to our Toastmaster Rob. Tim.
Thank you, Steve. I hope you don't consider this a soporific introduction because some of this information has already been conveyed by Pat earlier. I will go ahead and do it anyway. This evening, Lloyd Smith will be doing the introduction to Toastmasters mentoring project. which is required for level 2 of his innovative planning path. Since it's required for level 2 of all 11 paths, Lloyd has already done it 5 times. Tonight, he'll be changing the assignment a bit. Instead of discussing a time he was a protege, he'll be talking about a time he was a mentor and failed. You've probably heard the old saying, failure is not an option. The reality is that failure is always an option. Obviously, we need to know what we can do to avoid failing, but when it becomes obvious that failure is inevitable, we need to pivot to minimizing its impact and to salvaging what we can from the effort. Please welcome Lloyd Smith and Sometimes the Magic Works. Sometimes the Magic Works by Lloyd Smith.
Thank you, Rob. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And this speech tonight's going to be about a time when it did not. In the 1986-87 school year, we had a sad thing happen at Smart High School. One of our math teachers died. This guy's name was Roy Kansky. He was a phenomenal math teacher, just incredible. Probably the best classroom teacher I've ever met. He was one of those rare teachers who, if a kid couldn't understand something, he could always think of a different way to explain it, and then another way, and then another way, and then another way, until it finally clicked. Very few people have that ability. Roy had kidney disease. I believe he was born with it, but in any event, as he went on, he began to deteriorate. In the last 10 years of his life, he had 2 kidney transplants, both of which were rejected. He was on the list to get a third one when he finally died. That created a huge problem. Math teachers, especially the ones who can do like pre-calculus and calculus, do not grow on trees. Most people who major in that kind of math become college level instructors as opposed to high school. But they found a guy, a bright young guy, University of Washington, secondary math major, and he showed up in the 87-88 school year. They stumbled their way through the rest of the previous year with substitutes, managed to drag about half the kids away from the advanced math classes. As a result, the young guy, I met him, seemed like a nice enough guy, good looking kid. He was a kid, 22, 23-year-old guy. A few weeks into the year, the principal came to me and said, we have a mentor program, we have a mentor budget. We'll give you $150 if you mentor this guy. And I said, well, wouldn't it be better to have one of the math teachers mentor him? I taught English. And the principal said, no, Bill, the math department chairman, says they can't agree on who should do it. And besides, I don't think any of them will do a good job. So I thought, sure, I'll do it for $150. So I went up to this kid's room, introduced myself, and asked him how things were going. And he told me things were not going well at all. He was having big troubles. Now that's not unusual. Most people don't realize this, but about half of all brand new teachers quit within the first 5 years. And there are several reasons for that. But 2 of them had afflicted Mike, this guy. One of them was poor preparation at college level. A lot of the college education department people are many years removed from the classroom, and they teach the prospective teachers the way that they did it umpteen years ago, and things change. You know, teenagers are a volatile group. The other problem is that a lot of prospective teachers are so nervous about not their subject, but their classroom deportment, especially how they're going to handle discipline. It's not a natural thing, and it's not a thing that can be taught either. It's just something that has to be experienced. So I asked Mike, well, what's the problem with your classroom discipline? And he said, well, I'm having trouble with the rules, because every time some kid violates a rule, the big argument breaks out. And I said, well, what are your rules? He handed me this 3-page document that had literally 65 rules on it. And I said, well, the problem is nobody can internalize all of this stuff, not even you, let alone the kids. And the more rules you have, the more little loopholes and exceptions and contradictions and whatnot are going to spring up. And he said, well, that's exactly what's happening. I said, well, the solution is to have fewer rules. He said, well, how many do you have? And I said, well, I have 4. And he said, 4, what are they? And I said, well, you got to show up on time with your, show up and be on time. You got to have your books and materials. You got to participate in whatever the class is doing. And you can't draw negative attention to yourself. And he said, well, that's not enough. I said, well, it's better than 65. Anyway, I slowly persuaded him to prune down that massive list of unworkable rules, which he did, but he still wasn't happy. Every time I talked to him, I realized there's something going on with this guy that's preventing him from doing the job I knew he could do, because he clearly understood math. I mean, really good at it. But he just was having a horrible time in the classroom. When a teacher is doing poorly, the students react. I mean, you can remember your own school days. It's just, things just don't work, Well, finally, he told me, I just asked him one day, what is going on? What is the basic problem? And he told me he was gay. Well, the reason that's a problem, you got to think, this is the middle 1980s. Okay, the attitudes, the acceptance and whatnot about gays that we have today did not exist back then. And I told him, well, first of all, you got to keep your mouth shut about this, because if the word gets out in the community, you could be gone. New teachers in the first 3 years can be let go without cause. So he could have been out the door if a couple of parents had complained. The problem is, he was a big city kid. He'd grown up on Mercer Island. He went to the UW, being plunked down in Wenatchee. I mean, this is not the epicenter of gay culture, So he was just miserable. The next year, at the start of the year, I met with him again. And I asked him, are you happy doing this job? Can you see yourself doing this 10 or 15 years from now? And he said, no. I said, well, why don't you quit? And he seemed kind of startled. This is where the failure part comes in, by the way, because my role as a mentor was to keep him on the job. But he wasn't doing it well, and he was miserable. And he said, well, what would I do? And he said, well, why don't you go back to grad school, get your advanced degree, and then teach at the college level? Because you could do the math there. You could be in a big city. You're not going to deal with a bunch of kids screwing off in class, and you'll be happy. So he did. He quit at the end of the year. He went back to UW, did his PhD in statistics, and then the last I heard, he is teaching at Texas A&M University, teaching stats. Stats, by the way, is not the kind of math you do if you're a math wing. But anyway, the point of all of this is that mentoring does not always produce the outcome that whoever's paying the mentor has in mind. But I figured I had a higher duty to this kid, Mike, the teacher, and by extension his students, because if he had still been on the job, generations of students would have been miserable, and so would he, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lloyd. Yes,
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
Do people want me to keep holding up the colored signs, or
I don't think so. I think
Just wanna
if you
make sure.
do it for 5 seconds, I think that would
providing
be
the right
sufficient.
level of service?
It's not a bad idea to hold up the red one at the end.
And shake it.
Only when they get to the 10.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our table topic. Yes, hello. We'd like 1 minute to please fill in your evaluation sheet. I'm sorry, that little discourse made me a little soporific, and I forgot to ask for the 1 minute. So please start that clock.
It started.
And you did it 150. Work out about 10 cents an hour. And we're waiting to pound some nerves too. You got a nice warm feeling. Pretty much.
is up.
That concludes the 1 minute for filling in your evaluation forms. I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing someone who will never cause any soporific effects at a Toastmasters meeting. Please welcome our table topics master, Pat Whitfield.
Thank you very much. The theme of tonight's meeting is Thanksgiving, and these questions are some very specific to Thanksgiving and some kind of general, but still they should prick your imagination. So, Brian, what is your favorite Thanksgiving memory?
Thank you, Pat. My favorite Thanksgiving memory can all be lumped together. I just love getting the family together. There's always 2 football games on. It's pretty predictable what you're going to eat. It's a reason to get the family together when it seems more difficult than ever in this day and age to get family together. Predictable, safe environment, people I'm happy to see, food I love to eat. I have no excuses, or I make no excuses to overindulge myself in food repeatedly and enjoy every minute of it. It is my favorite holiday of the year. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Vicki, if you could share Thanksgiving dinner with one famous historical figure, who would you choose? Vicki.
Thank you very much, Pat. That is a very interesting question as to who I would choose as a historical person that I would want to have my Thanksgiving meal with. The first person that came up to mind was some of the royalty in England, just to find out how they felt about us breaking away from their country. And now that we have this wonderful celebration that we're forming this new country. And I think that that would be kind of interesting just to get to hear their side of the story and think if they find out if they think that it is as exciting as we think it is. I think I would let them know as we were having our meal what my thoughts are as far as Thanksgiving is this time to gather with friends and family. It's nice to be able to invite people that may not have family around to join you. Sometimes people have Friendsgivings. And I think that that would be something that I would like to share with the British, is that we've made this holiday not only from, discovering this country and thankful that we had all this wonderful bounty, but also thankful for our friends. Back to you, Pat.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Christina, what does the term give thanks mean to you?
Thank you, Pat. To give thanks. Is one that can be used in so many different ways. We should all be giving thanks every day for things around us, for people around us. We should be giving thanks that we make it through the day without being hit by someone who's driving like a crazy person. We should give thanks every morning that we wake up and have the day ahead of us. I personally give thanks to the Lord lots of times during the day. We should be thanking our families, our friends for their investment in our lives. Thanks is something we can give away. And we can give it away and give it away, give it away, and never run out of thanks to give away.
Nice, thank you. Rob, if you could thank one person, living or dead, for his or her influence on your life? Who will you thank?
Thank you, Pat. I knew immediately who that person was. Many of you knew him. He was my stepfather, Fred Van Sickle. He married my mother, who was a single mother of 4 children. I was the oldest, I was 13, and I had 3 younger siblings. He married my mom in spite of the fact that he was marrying into an instant family. He was truly my dad. He taught me a lot because, again, I was 13 years old when he came into my life. He helped me get through some tough times, and I will always cherish those thoughts. The fact that he was not blood, he treated us all as his own children, which was incredible, that he took on the role of a father, having never been a father before in his life. Unfortunately, he passed just recently, but his memory still stays with me, and I'll always remember him very fondly. I miss him. Thank you.
That was lovely. That was lovely. Steve, who is the most grateful person you know?
Who is the most grateful
Grateful
person?
person you know.
Hey, Steve. Well, the most grateful person I know is Laura Jakes, my wife. Because she got me. And who in this room isn't envious? It took her 8 years to reel me in. And I kept thinking she's gonna grow weary of this chase and cut me loose, but it didn't happen. Finally, like wore me down and reeled me in, and every day is an adventure for her. She experiences no soporific experiences in her life because I keep it interesting and enjoyable. She just can't begin to think what might happen the next time I act or speak. She's definitely the one. I had a segue, but I lost it. Thank goodness.
Okay, thank you so much. Kathleen. Shared your assignment. What pieces of advice would you pass on to the next generation as they establish their own holiday Thanksgiving traditions?
Advice for the next generation. I have a next generation in my family, and I give them plenty of advice. Specific to Thanksgiving, I would say lots of food, well cooked, lots of friends, small amount of family. And lots of turkey so that we can all have a soporific experience as we're watching football after dinner. I've had some terrific Thanksgivings that I would want them to repeat. My favorite Thanksgivings were when we lived in Portland, Oregon, where we had no family except our immediate family. We invited people who were friends of our kids. Basically, when you do it, your kids are younger, most of your friends are the adults in those relationships. We would have 25 or 30 people to dinner, and we would bring all the food. It was great. I didn't even have to cook the turkey. Someone who cooked the turkey every year and come in the door with this giant turkey and set it on the counter. All I did was put all these tables together that wound around the living room so people could all sit down, including the children. We did not make the children go to another table. They got to eat with us. afterwards, we always took a walk around the neighborhood to help restrain the soporific effects. And then we came back and we drank. We ended the evening on a high note, usually with tequila. It was a great time. That is my advice to my heirs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Barbara. What is one unusual tradition or ritual you'd like to make part of your Thanksgiving celebration?
What unusual
Tradition or ritual would you like to incorporate into your own holiday Thanksgiving celebration?
Well, like Kathleen, I have parted advice onto my spawn, how they're gonna have their Thanksgivings. So no new traditions in our family. I would say the best tradition that we have done is smoke a turkey. The first time that we did smoke this turkey, I don't know if anybody smoked a turkey, but it comes out black outside of it. And my youngest was convinced that it was burnt. And as we sliced into it and he had a piece, he says, "This is the best burnt turkey I've ever had." That is something that's carried on as part of the we talk about at every Thanksgiving. I would also say to my youngsters, it's not just all about family, it is about friends and making sure that you have room to celebrate with both family and friends. So, thank you very much.
Lloyd,
One for me, sorry.
if you could invent a holiday, what would it be called and what would it celebrate? Lloyd.
If I could invent a holiday, what would it be called? I think George would be a, or Larry, but Larry has a good sound to it too. Well, seriously, inventing holidays isn't something that needs to be done. A few days ago, I saw this list online of all of these, National Day of whatever, National Week of whatever. There are like 200 of them. There are some days that have 10 or more of national whatever's, chewing gum day or whatever. So I don't feel the need to invent a holiday. I'm thinking maybe the thing to do is to make all of them equally holidays, if you see what I mean. In other words, there isn't any reason why National Cupcake Day should not be at the same status as, say, Thanksgiving. Now, that might mean that there would be no work days. Yeah, so.
Well,
And I'm not
everybody's
counting that, so.
got a chance, so we have some more time. I'll take volunteers. If I don't have volunteers, I will draft, okay? Oh, Eric, yes, okay. Eric, what song,
Oh, no, I'm good, I'm good.
okay,
Give it, thanks.
you're going to choose your own topic?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
This one hits about 3 of those questions.
You got a letter.
The new traditions, what my favorite meal is, and there was another one in there too. Last night, I stayed at the Quality Inn, and I feel so terrific. So we'll give you the story.
Yes.
I'm 65 years old, and so that means I probably had 60 Thanksgivings. And turkey makes me so horrific that I wanted to get away from that. And people have hams, and ham doesn't do it for me either. So I talked my wife into doing lamb. Now, lamb is done right. You go to a Greek restaurant, it's delicious. It's rarely home cooked very well. But Christina took on the challenge. The last few Thanksgivings, we've bagged our turkey. It comes out fabulous. It's never been bad. It's never got even close to that. She decided to bag the lamb, big lamb roast. It was fabulous and it was a hit. The other thing is that since we're doing new traditions, I like Brussels sprouts. And I like the way my wife fix them. None of our kids like Brussels sprouts. And we will have upwards to 20 people at Thanksgiving. We said, you know what? We're gonna fix Brussels sprouts and you're gonna like them. So we took the Brussels sprouts and shredded them up and cooked them in something, I don't know exactly what it was. And we didn't tell them they were Brussels sprouts. The piece de resistance is having lots of crispy bacon with it. They dug into this and everybody was raving about it. We had this instead of mashed potatoes, so we had to have something good. And they loved it. When we told them it was Brussels sprouts, they could not believe it. All the jaws hit the table. And they said, we want your recipe. We're gonna do Brussels sprouts again this year.
Do you have any other creative volunteers?
Okay.
Okay, with one of my questions. All right.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Okay, in that case, what is one thing that you really appreciate about someone at your Thanksgiving table?
That's an interesting question because I could be thinking that you're asking who a specific person at my Thanksgiving table is that I appreciate, or the kind of hog that pulls up to the trough and dives in and does it right, that I could say I appreciate for the way in which they enjoy their Thanksgiving dinner. I'm just always happy to have everybody at the table, whether it's Thanksgiving or whether it's Thursday night dinner. I enjoy hosting dinners. I like to cook. I like to make stuff that people are going to fall down enjoying because it's a quality meal. Kind of goes with my little art thing, I guess. I like to create and I like people to really enjoy what it is that I've created. I'd be happy to have each and every one of you sit at my dinner table, whether it was Thanksgiving or Thursday night. All right.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm pretty hungry.
Okay, we have,
Me too now.
Thanks, Game.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, Brian volunteered. What is your favorite part of Thanksgiving?
Well, thank you for the wonderful question, Pat. I believe I will punt and just go on my own. This has been on my mind at Toastmasters for quite some time. I believe I have posed this question before, but I do not recall the answer. One of the things I love about table topics is it represents my work life very much. So I spend an exorbitant amount of my time just being fired on questions in venues, internally and externally everywhere. And I would like to, my question is, in the Toastmasters world, there must be a, you field a question and a system to help you rapidly process it. Intake, oh, here's, collect my thoughts, here's my intro, here's my body, here's my conclusion, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. Type of scenario. Is this in the Toastmasters education curriculum?
Probably not, but I do know a system.
Great. I need a mentor.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat. I still have one more minute, right, or less than that. This is very beneficial to me, the table topics portion of it, and I just want to apologize again for having done one speech only in however many years I've been here now, which has been the icebreaker, and I confess I don't even log in to the system. Someday I intend to, but I do not know when that is going to be.
Thank you very much. Jacob, I
Very
am
revealing.
neglectful. I didn't realize that you were with us, and so You absolutely have to have a question for table topics. Let me see. Okay, here's a good one. How do you stay focused on gratitude all year long?
Okay.
Thank you for that question. And I do apologize about being so late. It was a very wild day at work. Can you guys hear me okay? Just to be sure? Okay, good. How do I stay grateful all year long? And the truthful answer would be, I don't. I have a hard time accepting gratitude or being grateful for things only because I have a tendency to hold myself to a much higher standard than I would anybody else. And so I have a hard time accepting gratitude or grace from other people, although I'm very much willing to be grateful and to show grace to other people. So I would say that that is something I need to work on and work on hard. So that is my answer to that question. Thank you so much for that question. And I appreciate you guys taking your time today.
Thank you. Instead of choosing somebody else, I'll volunteer because this one really resonates with me. When was one time this year that you did the right thing even when it was difficult? The reason this resonates with me is because it has to do with Thanksgiving this year. My granddaughter has opted to have alternate Thanksgivings with our family and with her husband's family. And it's with her husband's family this year. Thanksgiving is a big deal in our family because my daughter's birthday is November 26th. And so Thanksgiving has always been Kathy's birthday and Thanksgiving for us. And when Amber and her family aren't with us, we have a void. At any rate, her mother-in-law invited us all to her house for Thanksgiving this year. And we agonized over it because we really didn't want to go. We had been there once before a few years ago, and it wasn't the best experience. The space is too crowded. There are some people in the family who don't seem to have a great deal of personality and are not really good conversationalists. And it was just so uncomfortable. And so for the past 2 weeks, we have agonized over the fact, will we or won't we, and tried to think of every excuse for not going that we could. My sister, who I talk to every single evening, and she lives in Idaho Falls, came up with some good ideas. She said, could you say that you don't do in groups because of COVID? Or could Kathy, that's my daughter, say, oh, Thanksgiving means so much to me. I love preparing the meal, and to go to somebody else's house is hard for me. Well, I want you all to know we resolved the issue. We're going to go to their house for Thanksgiving this year and make the best of it. But we did decide the time frame was from 1 until 5. We decided we would go at 2 o'clock and we would leave 15 minutes after dessert.
Very good.
I was gonna say 15 minutes later.
There could be a speech force coming on that.
Thank you, Pat.
I didn't pass the time.
That was a wonderful slate of questions. Everyone did a great job. I would now like to turn the meeting back over to our general evaluator. Please welcome back to the podium, Steve Schwinn.
Thank you so much. I love it up here in the limelight. Now, Pat, I've got to say, you've taken on a lot of responsibility tonight to be able to prepare a evaluation and a whole slate of table topics. Our evaluator tonight, Pat Whitfield, will now give us her thoughts on Lloyd's speech.
It's always interesting how sometimes things fit together so well that I'm evaluating Lloyd's speech when he was serving as a mentor for a student teacher. And I've spent 30 years as a teacher educator, coaching classroom teachers how to mentor prospective teachers. So his tale really resonated with me, and I appreciated the opportunity to evaluate him. Well, first of all, you excelled as a narrator of personal experience, and a personal experience I could readily understand. It was well organized, with lots of insights to personal strategies that you used with this young man, particularly your 4 rules, and your perceptiveness as someone who realized how difficult it would be for a young man of his orientation to continue to be successful in a high school setting. So it seems to me you steered him in the right direction and gave him good advice. Also, your timing was perfect. That red flag went up and you went down and brought it to a conclusion. You might want to work on expanding your repertoire of gestures. Normally, you have quite a wide variety of gestures, but tonight you returned your hands to the same comfortable hands to and then positioned rather frequently throughout your speech. And to challenge yourself, and this kind of surprised me a bit too, you might want to concentrate more on your eye contact. Your eyes were cast down a lot during your speech tonight, and that's not characteristic of your normal presentation skills. But overall, of course, I found it very interesting. You told a very interesting story. You were a very wise mentor in your steering this young man in another direction, and apparently he has been very successful and is in a work environment that would be more accepting to him. So overall, very interesting. Look at us and put your hands away from your belly.
You did get the yellow, I just forgot to put it up.
Thank you, Pat. And now 1 minute on that. Oh, wait, everybody's reaching for the pencil. Now our timers report. Kathleen, would you like to? What?
That was a blast. I certainly enjoyed that. Lloyd, excellent job. 7 minutes and 16 seconds. It was a 5 to 7 minute speech. Brian doubled up. This is table topics, by the way.
Yes.
Brian doubled up 43 seconds and 1 minute and 42 seconds. Picking table topics, 1 minute and 23. Christina, 1 minute and 7 seconds. Rob, 1 minute 12. Steve also doubled up with 1 minute 15 and 1 minute and 3. I did 1 minute 54. Barbara, 1 minute 22. Lloyd, on your table topics, 1 minute and 2 seconds. Eric, 2 minutes and 13. Eric. Jacob, 1 minute 3. Pat, 2 minutes and 4. And finally, for your evaluation, Pat, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Timed beautifully. Thank you, Mr. General.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next, we have the short memory. Our memories report, Christina. How did everything go?
Swimmingly. Word of the day, soporific. Steve, soporificity, E. Twice, or maybe 3 times, maybe thrice. Barbara once, Rob twice, Kathleen twice, Eric once. Good job.
Excellent.
It ended up being a good word. As far as phrases and words that jumped off to me. Lloyd talked about teachers, the school stumbled their way through the rest of the year. I like that. Teenagers are a volatile group. Classroom deportment. Epicenter. And math win. Love those. Steve somewhere misplaced his segue. Vicki mentioned celebrating Friendsgiving.
Oh.
And I wasn't sure if she's giving friends away or celebrating friends. I think she's celebrating friends. Barbara, did you say my spawn?
Yes,
I
I call my
thought so.
children my spawn,
Her
sorry.
children, she calls them her spawn. Okay. I wrote it down with the question mark. Did I hear that? Rob, a slate of questions. Good. Have trouble, oh, that was me, never mind. Pat. Resonated and repertoire. Like those two words. I did not hear any egregious use of grammar tonight. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you for such great phrases and words. Back to you.
Great, thank you, Christina. And now, Barbara, can you tell us how we did with our filler words?
Thank you. We all did pretty good tonight. Lloyd, a couple of pause, one but and one repeat. Pat, you had one so. That's it. Vicki, a couple of ums and one repeat. Christina, just one so. I have a clean slate for Rob, Steve, and Kathleen for your seconds. Myself, I had a well, a so, and a but. And Eric, I just have a couple of so's and one repeat. I think Brian, you had a good, Brian's clear too. So good job, everybody.
All right.
I got
Excellent.
everybody. Jacob, oh, I'm sorry, Jacob, you had 3 ums and a couple of so's. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. This is such an exemplary club. Everyone rises to the occasion when we need people to fill in. There's never a hesitancy to jump on the role and fill somebody's void. It's a great thing. Positive, smiles on our face. And everyone knows the job. There's no hiccups or hesitancies in each of the roles, whether you've been assigned it initially or jumped on it because of the need to fill that missing party. Eric, I'm gonna admonish you for cutting Pat short rather than letting her complete her question and then segueing off into your own arena. Pat, you did a great job with table topics. They were fun, good questions. They kept everybody going. I'm just a little sorry I didn't hear you ask somebody, don't you enjoy pushing back from the table and lighting a Pall Mall? Post meal.
Actually, we owed the questions to Dean. It was his night. And he shared the questions.
The one real area that we dropped the ball a little bit was handing off the podium to the next person. We always like to remain the anchor, so when people have something to focus on until the next person fills the space. Rob, I thought it was appropriate, clearly. I'm just stating the obvious, that your stepdad married your mom because she was a single mom. Had she been a married mom, that would have posed a problem. I think that's all I have. That's probably all I should say for now. It's a great meeting. Thanks, everyone. And I'll turn it back to our president. Barbara.
Thank you. I have to also reiterate what Steve said, great meeting tonight, a lot of us stepping up into the new roles, and thank you for that. And Vice President of Education, do we have any announcements this evening?
I do, Madam President. Thank you very much. Jacob, are you ready for a role next week?
What role did you have in mind?
What would you like to do?
I just used the word so maybe we should do the counter.
You got it. Okay, Jacob is going to be the counter next week. I want to just say, if there are any table topics that any of you would like to see on the agenda, please.
Somehow,
Did they cancel?
I don't know what they did. Oops.
Did we give them a chance to come back?
We can. I'm gonna go ahead and pause the recording though.